Hi guys, my name is Chris. I am thrilled to get a chance to work with you, and on behalf of myself and the supporting team that we have, I really look forward to working with you in this very hands-on, deeply immersive digital environment. We are going to be working together, and in this video I'm going to give you the preview, the high-level introduction, a little bit of stuff to think about and prepare before we get a chance to meet. Now you can sit through this video very quickly once, or you can go through and look over a few things that you may want to prepare so you can make sure that you and your team get into a winning position. Now, what we're going to be doing together is called immersive learning, or really hands-on digital action-based learning. We have been running Transform digital simulation with thousands of people in all sorts of contexts. It is by far one of the most powerful and one of the most interesting ways of working with and learning strategy, innovation, and transformation. Now, in Transform, you're going to be working in a digital environment. You're going to be leading your team. You're going to be building, or rather turning around a company, and you'll get exposed to hundreds of action-based items, requiring you to make what we call micro decisions, micro strategic decisions on the fly. You'll be making a lot of decisions around what should our business model portfolio look like? Should we be investing into our core business, our growth business, our explore business? How should we deal with sudden bust experiences where things do not go as we planned? How should we handle our hostile competitors? How should we deal with new opportunities? How can we create a powerful transformation strategy that allows us to win in Transform? All of those things I will be explaining in this introduction video. So what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be exposed to, is what we call leading transformation. And you're going to be covering areas like teamwork, and some of you are going to experience really a bad teamwork. You're going to be working with strategy, innovation, finance, decision making, and then finally, towards the end, negotiation techniques. Now, this is built on almost 20 years of work that I've been doing, where I've really been able to work inside the boardroom, inside the C-suite, and inside management teams with companies across a wide range of industries, but all working on different parts of a transformation journey. I've also been training CEOs, training C-suite teams, working with chief strategy leaders and chief transformation officers, consultants, and business school faculty all over the world to teach them the tools, the theories, and the methodologies behind our work and transformation. Currently, the material that you're seeing is being used by leading business schools at bachelor, master, and executive levels, where we're really trying to figure out how can we help smart people like yourself learn faster, have more fun, and make sure that it's a much more competitive process than a regular classroom experience is. So it's made in Norway, but it's used globally with one purpose, and that is building your skills around strategy and transformation. Now, very quick recap. So what I've been doing over a number of years here is really working with teams and countries and governments and leaders at all levels, from private and public organizations, to figure out how do we deal with the need for transformation. One such story was Norway 2014. The oil price, as many of you may know, went to $115 a barrel, and then it just overnight crashed towards $29 a barrel. At the time, I was doing a lot of consulting, teaching, speaking, and research, and I said, wait a minute, guys, we need to do something. We need, at the national level, regional level, company level, strategic levels, we need to develop our capabilities to successfully transform. How do we take a nation and a region, as well as hundreds of companies that kind of come from an industry just went through an existential shock? How do we help them transform? How do we build the transformational capabilities that allows companies that were once successful in one economic paradigm and shift over to smart cities, drones, renewable energy, and so on. So, since 2014, I have been spending pretty much all of my time working on these questions. Previously, a lot of experience, 2014, 15, 18, did a lot of research, did a lot of advisory. And now as I'm looking forward, I'm definitely going to be spending the next decade and beyond helping companies and countries successfully transform. Now, one of the things that you will see is that we have developed what we call a playbook and a toolkit that allows anyone to start picking up the tools and putting these ideas into practice. You don't have to read a lot of theory. You don't have to read all the textbooks and all the research articles. You can apply the toolkit, a very visual, hands-on, action-based toolkit to bring transformation into action. Now, a key question that we need to be talking about together is, well, what is actually transformation? Now, I'm working with big companies all around the world, and most of them, I would, politely say, they have it wrong. Because they think about transformation as a very small part of their business. Like, we're going to improve some of our processes. We're going to change our IT system. We're going to tweak our culture. And they label it transformation. It's not. Transformation to us is a deep and fundamental change to the company's value creation logic. So if you used to be making regular cars, what we call that, the diesel, the petrol-based cars, the ICE car, combustible engine cars. Transformation is not simply switching that over to, hey, we're now going to start doing electric vehicles, because there's so much behind the curtains of those two cases. And as you'll see, rarely the business model is the same. Rarely the product is the same, the customer is the same, the price point, the margin is the same. So when we talk about transformation, it is typically a much, much deep-seated, a much larger, much more impactful, much more significant change than many people were expecting. So when we look at the very, very simple layout, we say, well, let's start with what is your ambition? And the ambition can, for example, be to be the world's leading mobility company. And say, well, what is your core business? What are the growth areas? And what is your explore category? And how do you balance those? Because companies that are successfully able to transform, they will have a dominant core business. And that dominant core business will be based on what the company has been doing over the last couple of decades, where they built their core capabilities, their core competencies, they built their customer base, their technology base, their employee focus. But most likely this old core business has to die. Move it out. And then you have to see, well, what do we have in the growth areas that we can eventually grow into our new core business? And what are all of these crazy ideas that we have out here? The wildly explorative, highly innovative, high risk, high yield ideas that could eventually over time become our new growth platforms and then our new core business. Companies that are able to transform, they follow this strategy intro. Core, growth, and explore is one of the absolute keys. And you'll see that in the simulation as you will need to make a lot of investment decisions. What should we invest in our core business, in our growth areas, and in our explore category? And in the simulation, you'll be working in the digital environment to make sure you get this right, working with your team to make the investment decisions, strategic decisions, and basically try to outcompete the other teams in action. Now, talking about transformation, I want to cover one thing. That is, there are three types of transformation: shock, shift, and evolution. The first category, the shock, is triggered by outside events, and it's really forcing change upon you in a very, very accelerated timeline. Now, it's very hard to pull off a successful transformation when you're facing a shock. The second is the shift. Shift is a sudden strategic move that just almost overnight. Well, we say overnight, but in reality, it's typically between 5 to 7 years. Very, very, very few are able to pull this off because it requires bold leadership like you have. Last category where we see most companies succeed is the evolution or the evolutionary approach to transformation. Evolution is a long-term, well-planned, well-executed, gradual change in resource allocation in business areas. It easily follows a 10 to 12 year timeline. Now, there's a few cases that may be down towards the 7-year category, but the majority of successful evolution transformation cases are really towards the 10 to 12 years plus. This is what Professor Reader McGrath calls the continuous reconfiguration over time. Right now, Microsoft is a great example, and as you will see in the simulation, you will be following the same playbook, trying to do the evolutionary approach on an accelerated time.